Welcome to Matchmaker Matchmaker. I'm Eliza Ben Shalom, your host and your guide to finding a love that lasts. You might know me from Jewish matchmaking on Netflix. However, I am so passionate about this topic that you don't just get a TV show, you get a book and a podcast as well. Here's the thing, not everyone is a matchmaker, but everyone can make a match. Whether it's finding love for yourself or helping two souls to connect, we're all a part of something bigger. Each week, we'll dive deep into stories, advice, and some real matchmaking magic. Let's take this journey together, and who knows, you might just find the spark that you've been looking for. Welcome back. I am in my hometown of Philadelphia, where I grew up, and I'm so excited to be here with a new guest. This is Andrew. We've never met until right now.
Grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I like to tell our matchmaking story, which is that Danielle Selber, who's a matchmaker in Philly, who helped me to get my business going with an accelerator program with Tribe 12. And then I, in turn, helped her to get matchmaking going with Tribe 12. And now we're back collaborating, doing great things together. And she hooks me up with great singles. And until right now, we've never met.
Excited to be here.
Happy to have you. We got to get some stats on you in case there's any of our listeners who may want to meet you and talk a little bit about dating. I want to give people a flavor of what's going on in the dating world, especially in Philly, some of the struggles, maybe some of the positive things, and also about how dating has shifted since October 7th, like the mindset and kind of where you're at. So give us your stats, like, you know, where you're from, how old you are, what you do.
I'm 35 years old, 6'3". That helps sometimes.
A lot.
But grew up near Princeton, New Jersey. And after going to school at Penn State, I lived in New York.
I was just at Penn State. High five, air high five.
I've just got back this weekend, actually. So
wait, you were there this weekend?
At the Whiteout, yeah.
I was there this weekend, but I left before the Whiteout because I was there for Chabad.
Okay.
Yeah, we did an amazing singles program.
That's awesome.
I did some live matchmaking.
Love that.
Yeah, we had 160 people in Chabad.
That's amazing.
I mean, if you haven't been there, everybody should go to Chabad.
Yeah. I was looking for the Hillel, actually, when I was there, because I did Birthright to them when I was at Penn State. So
amazing.
Yeah.
We almost just met.
Right? Almost crossed paths there. In Happy Valley of all places. So I lived in New York City for 7 years.
Okay.
After graduating college, I was able to really focus on just kind of getting the party life out of me.
Yeah.
And then I came back to Philadelphia when I was about 30, about 29, 30, and I moved here to be closer to my family. And then I've been in
They're
Philly.
in the Philly, Jersey area?
They are. They're now all within Philadelphia.
Okay.
At one point, we all lived within a few blocks of each other in like the Rittenhouse area.
So sweet.
Family is really important to me, and that's something I always look for, someone that's family-oriented as well. But being single pretty much the entire time, had a few relationships here and there. But when I was in New York, I think my options were a little bit more open. I was kind of more focused on just dating the right person versus dating to marry the next Jewish girl. So since I've been in Philly, I've been focusing a little bit more on dating Jewish, as I think it's nice to find those similarities with those people. My sisters, for example, have a great story, and they share the same exact story. They both met their husbands now as friends when they were kids at a Jewish sleepaway camp.
Which camp?
Camp Quebec, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So I know I'm not going to have that fortunate story.
So there is something called mystery in your history, which is one of the things I talk about. It's not in the book.
Okay.
But it is when we kind of look back at our history. So I would be like, pull out those camp albums or the photos and see if there's any either girls that you know or friends of friends or people that like who knows where they are now and what they're doing and try and like dig up somebody. It's not like an old flame. Right. It could be an old friend. It could be an old friend of a friend, but you could have a camp story.
I could, finding somebody who has that tied to their past is important.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big camper. I was kind of homesick when I was a kid, but I still had that experience. So finding someone who has had a similar experience is important to me. I'm not super religious, kind of more casual. I do work in hospitality. Okay. So unfortunately with my schedule, I'm not able to really practice Shabbat. I'm not able to take off on high holidays. Unfortunately, work does come first a lot of times. So I do work a lot of nights, holidays, and weekends. But the people that are close to me, the people I've dated, my family, my friends, have really adapted to make sure that I can spend quality time with them when I'm not working.
When do you not work? day?
My schedule varies every single week, unfortunately. The
You're
nice thing
working
is
most nights and weekends?
it varies. I mean, we
Okay.
are more of a corporate hotel that I'm at now, so I'm able to kind of request certain dates. I have my nephew's first birthday this weekend,
Aw.
so able to go visit him for that. But it's nice having multiple people that do the same job, so I'm able to make those special requests if it's a date, if it's family time, something like that, or plans to go to Penn State. So able to make those plans around the.
So if we're like waving a magic wand, what type of a person are we looking for? I would say both on the inside and the outside, but
Yeah.
over the years, what have you learned that really works for you?
So I think me being as social as I am, someone who is passionate, able to kind of keep up. I'm more of a planner when I travel. So someone that is spontaneous, adventurous, someone who likes to
Wait, you said planner and spontaneous.
planner in the sense that
You got to plan to take time off because of your
exactly,
work.
exactly.
Spontaneous once you're there.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
got
being
it.
able to like just go with the flow, but also like, let's go do this, let's go do that. And,
Okay.
spontaneously just get off and kind of have a great time. But yeah, plan something out long term, like a full blown trip. But yeah, at the same time, somebody who is family oriented, oddly enough, I know they say sometimes you date someone like your mother or your siblings. So I do prefer shorter women.
Give us a height range because you're 6'3".
Yeah, I'm
So
6'3", but I'd say between 5'1" to 5'7". Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to fight back. Can I
Okay.
fight back a little?
I mean, if I have to go shorter, I'd go shorter too.
No, really?
I
Gosh,
usually get turned off a little bit when they start hitting that 5'8", 5'9". It's a little, I don't know. I grew up short all my life, so I am 6'3" now.
grew up short.
I sprouted up when I got to Penn State. Yeah, there's something in the water up there.
I got to move there. My whole
Yeah.
family were all short.
But I grew up short.
Okay.
I literally graduated high school being 5'6", very short. Yeah, 4'11" when most guys hit their growth spurt at 14. I was the smallest kid in my high school, but now I'm taller than most people I graduated with.
And you didn't do anything that
Nothing.
just, and you have tall family members?
Yeah, all the men are over 6 feet, and all the women are
Yeah,
under
okay, so we
5'7".
Okay.
So
Okay, so normally what I tell the ladies is that if you are like under 5'5", you save the 6-foot men for the ladies that are over 5'5", because
Right.
like
kings are there too. I know.
yeah. So it's interesting that you have a preference. And
Yeah.
some people have also told me, there's a guy also that I work with, and he's like 6'3", and he's like, no, if they're under like 5'5", 5'4", it's like just, like it's just they're
I
too
prefer
small,
that.
petite.
Yeah,
Okay.
petite, active.
Ladies, you're going to be really happy.
I prefer someone who's active. I've done a few half marathons myself.
Okay.
A few races here in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I actually just started with Tribe 12, a run club. Kind of
Okay.
inspired by those run clubs that are all over social media.
I just saw one, and it was I don't know, thousands of people in
Oh, yeah.
New York, and they're like, oh yeah, we started this run club. We get together every week on a Wednesday. We go for a run, and then they go somewhere and they meet and they mingle, and they're singles, and it's a great way for people to connect who are doing a similar thing, that have a similar passion and a drive.
So I did my run club with Tribe 12 on a Tuesday.
Okay.
And then I actually did that the next day on a Wednesday. And I kind of like to take a step back and look at both. And I was really happy with kind of what I do with Tribe 12. It's a little more smaller, intimate group. Whereas when I went to that one, I went by myself. I'm a very social guy, but I kind of felt like a blended in. So I was happier with that small, intimate group, kind of able to make those more connections that kind of
More
go
personal connections. Like
exactly.
what, 20, 30 people? How many
Yeah,
people do you
that's
get?
perfect. Exactly.
20, 30 is perfect.
Whereas the one in Philly that came from New York had over 200. So I'm a fast runner. I'm a good athlete when it comes to that stuff.
Right.
But I think it was more social. I kind of focus on my running versus my dating on the run, essentially.
Dating on the run. I
Yeah.
like that. That's a good title. I think with running, I just like that we're pulling passions together here, where you're having people that have similar interests, hobbies, where if a couple's going to get into a relationship, so now they have something they can do together, and it's kind of built in.
Absolutely.
This just started, so you haven't seen any relationships
I
come
think
out of
build
it yet.
from that. I think it's important to focus on your own health, but also have those things to share with somebody, and spending that quality time together is really important. I don't think you have to be up to the same challenge, the same experience level per se, but to have that quality time and staying physically active is really important. It's something that definitely has been transparent in my entire family.
So just before we started recording, we talked briefly about one of the chapters in my new book. By the way, it's called Matchmaker Matchmaker, Find Me a Love That Lasts. Because everybody's looking for a love that lasts, not just a love, not just a relationship, but one that actually stands the test of time. And one of the chapters is you can only move as fast as the slowest person. So talking about running, right? If you're moving and you want to run side by side with somebody, the question is, how do you do that if you're not at the same pace and you're not at the same speed? So my theory is the faster person must slow down because the slower person can't go faster, right? The faster person has the option to go faster or slower. The slower person is going at the fastest speed that they can go. So if you want to match and you want to be paced with each other, then the faster one has to slow down. So in dating, how do you find yourself? Are you the faster one? Are you the slower one? Like, what does that look like?
I feel like I do start off as the faster one. And then after talking to my Jewish mother, she kind of pulls me back to reality a little bit and kind of says, you start off so fast, you do need to slow down. So I do agree with your method, how important that is. Kind of hit reality that life's a roller coaster. It goes up and down. So if you start off high and you keep going farther, eventually you're going to go off the cliff. And I feel like you need to kind of slow down to meet your partner's expectations and deliver that on a daily basis of that realist perspective.
So you're always tempering your pace with you start out fast out of the gate, so to speak. Exactly. And then you're like, wait a minute, they're not there yet. I'm a very passionate person. So I definitely see that come through my work as well as in my dating. But I do like to kind of sometimes take a step back with the help from my family and friends to kind of realize like, okay, I need to focus on taking it slow and not rush things. But I don't want to miss out on the opportunity with the right person. Okay, so we dug a little bit into like waving a magic wand, but like besides height being under 5'7" or above 5'1", what else are you looking for on the inside? What type of a person? What values are you looking for? The character traits, like long-term things that are going to be there for a lifetime.
So somebody who's definitely culturally Jewish, they could be a little more religious than I am and happy to kind of observe those traditions that they have as well with their family, similar to mine. But I also want somebody who's career driven, somebody who's independent. They're able to do well on their own, but also appreciate the time that somebody makes for them as well. Somebody who is definitely bubbly, fun, cute, doesn't have to have hundreds of friends. I'm more about quality over quantity. So I think having someone that has that similar relationship with their family and friends is important. But somebody who is looking, that knows what they want. I think when you're in your 20s, your 20s is time to kind of have fun, make mistakes, and kind of grow old. But then when you're in your 30s, you kind of realize like life is going pretty fast. You need to slow down and also need to, take a step back and look at, you have to find somebody if that's what you want, if that's what your passion is. I think having two younger sisters, both married, one with a child, I think it's making me realize a little bit more that I do want that family. I do need to kind of step back a little bit from my passion with work and make that passion into finding the right person.
I like that you said that because I was going to tell you that your lifestyle isn't necessarily compatible with building a family today. Saying, how can I keep my lifestyle, everything I love about what I do, and yet build that around a family instead of building my family around my work.
Absolutely.
So that's homework. You're going to have to think about what to do. But let's make up a story that you meet somebody wonderful. Maybe even from this episode, somebody hears it and they're like, Eliza, set me up with Andrew. Okay. So let's say that you meet somebody wonderful. It goes well. You like her. She likes you. You go a little too fast. You slow yourself back down. You're moving at her pace. You guys are moving in a good direction. How long do you see yourself dating before you'd want to get engaged?
I would say dating is solid. So I'm a big believer before engagement, you need to live together. I think cohabitation, you learn a lot from somebody. I recently had a friend that got engaged and then broke off his engagement. And he said things changed when the ring came. So I think for me, living with somebody is important. I think I would date for about a solid 8 months to a year before moving in with somebody. And then I think living with somebody for at least 6 months before that time comes to get engaged. And then because I work in event planning and event operations, I don't think I need that full year, 2-year engagement. And then I think with the right person, you know how big of a wedding you want. I think as you get older, I feel like you don't need that prince and princess wedding sometimes.
You might not. We don't know about her yet.
That's very
Sometimes you wait, until your 30s and you're like, no, I actually would really like it.
Right. So, but
okay.
I don't like sometimes being the center of attention with a large crowd. I kind of like running the show. So I think finding
She'll be the center of attention.
absolutely, and I
You
make
can
make sure that she's my princess.
Okay, so we're going to agree to disagree on the living with each other because I'm not on the same page with that. I do agree that you learn new things, but it doesn't necessarily prove to be a healthy or a good relationship. But the timeline that I hear from you is about a year and a half-ish, including that, you know, getting to know them, living with them until potential engagement, and then could be 6 months, a year, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a long engagement period to plan a wedding and something wonderful.
For sure.
Okay, so we're looking at a year and a half to 2.5 years from meeting till under the chuppah.
Yeah, that'd be ideal.
That sounds good?
Yeah.
You can do that?
Absolutely.
Woo! He's practically married off. Okay, good. So now we know a little bit about what you're looking for. We know a little bit about your timeline. What would be a great first date or second date, a third date? Like as you're getting to know somebody, what do you like to do when you're hanging out with them and connecting?
So I am a dog dad.
A dog dad.
I am a father of a dog. Not my actual child, but she is my everything at the moment.
Okay.
She's looking for
What's
her
her
dog
name?
mom. Molly.
Oh, I do canine matchmaking.
Love that.
It's much easier than doing human matchmaking. Our dog Coda, she has had 6 puppies. 1 is with us and 5 are happily placed with other families.
Love that.
And it was actually a phenomenal experience. So
That's
like
awesome.
I can hook you up with the family situation there.
Perfect. So someone who's a dog lover is important.
Okay.
Depending on that conversation beforehand, maybe I bring my dog around, kind of get a tell if she's into
Make
the dog
sure
or not.
make sure that well, okay, I'm going to tell you a secret.
Yeah.
You said make sure she's into the dog. You actually have to make sure that the dog's into her. That's actually the test.
My dog falls for most females, so I sometimes have to hold my dog back a little bit. But she's a small Chihuahua Dachshund Pug, like a rescue. So
How small is small?
she's about 13 pounds.
Okay.
So for a 6'3" guy with a small
Cute
13-pound
little
dog,
dog.
yeah. But she's my everything. Being a rescue, she has kind of some trust issues with some people. So with me, it's nice that she really feels comfortable with me. But it's nice to have that body at home, the dog.
That's great.
So, yeah. So I think for me, a solid first date. I've had those dates where you go for the lavish dinner, you go for the drinks, and I think sometimes, especially like in New York City, everyone's just dating to date, and I think that kind of is not as impersonable. It's not as personable as you'd like. So I think more of like a coffee date, walking around the city, going on exploring around is really nice, and then that way kind of gives you a tell if you're actually interested in this person. But starting off something small, and then maybe after that you go out for dinner, something casual.
It sounds like the goal is to see if there's a vibe.
Exactly.
And if there's a vibe, if there's a click, if there's something more, really where you're at and what you're doing doesn't matter.
Right.
And it's more about the experience. And also it sounds like experiencing the world with somebody together and how you interact with the world is a little bit important as well.
I'd say I'm looking for my companionship. I'm looking for, my dog's been great, but I'm looking for the right woman.
Are you okay? Can we place the dog in number 2 place when...
As long as the dog still gets to sleep in the bed at night, but usually she'll leave my side and go to the female side. She definitely takes others over mine, but yeah.
That's it. Dog lover has to be cool with dogs sleeping in the bed.
Exactly.
I never thought we would have dogs sleeping in the bed. Like we grew up with dogs, but like they had their own little spot, their own little mat, and we are now...
They are a man's best friend.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, the dogs are in the bed now.
Yep,
I get it.
Exactly.
It's okay. They're sweet.
So
Okay, so we know what you're looking for. You're in Philly, and you have family in Philly, and you love Philly, and your work's in Philly. So you're kind of based here. Is this? Are you looking to go anywhere else, or?
I think living in the city has been pretty great. Sometimes Philly gets a bad rep on not being the safest area, but there's parts that, there's certain streets in every city that you know where to walk, where not to walk. Philly is kind of a small town, it feels like, or a large town, I guess. But Philly's been good. So I've lived pretty much all around Philly so far. I'm excited to kind of enjoy where I'm at now for a little bit more, and then kind of step back a little more South Philly to kind of get a little more space.
But we need the Philly area. Like,
yeah.
If somebody's in New York or Jersey or Maryland or anywhere else, LA, Miami, we want them to be like, cool,
I would like them to
check out Philly.
Exactly. I would like them to stay close to Philly. Maybe once I start to get in a relationship, get married, have all the time with the kid or 2 or 3.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about kids.
That.
You said 2 or 3, 4.
I would like 1, honestly, maybe 2. I do have 2 sisters. I agree, especially coming with 2 younger sisters.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to have that relationship with a sibling. So I think 1 or 2 is good. Hopefully more than 1. And then staying in Philly would be great. I think being close to family is important. People don't realize how expensive children are sometimes. So that free
A little
childcare
extra, right? A little
with
extra
the family is
childcare.
pretty nice and convenient to have as well.
It's the best.
So, and just, I once heard recently from another podcaster actually about time spent with family, how you look at like the big picture is you maybe see your family once or twice a year and you look at their age and sometimes.
I heard the same podcast.
Yes.
I don't remember what it was.
Jesse Itzler.
Yes.
Shout
He's
out.
phenomenal.
Yes.
So I just heard it, and he was talking to this guy, and he's like, you know, how old are your parents? And I said, whatever, they're in their 70s. He said, how often do you see them? And he's like, you know, twice a year. And he's like, great. So how long on the average lifespan? He's like, so you're going to see them on average of like 10 or 20 more times in your lifetime. And do the math of how many more hours that is. And I was like, that's so depressing in that perspective and motivational at the same time to go, my gosh, like if that's all the time that's left, A, do I want more time? Do I want to visit more often? What do I want to do with that time? Where do I want to live? How do we want to create that?
Exactly.
For us, this hit home. We just moved to Israel 3.5 years ago. And, you know, it pulls us away from family. And at the same time, my in-laws are very consistent. They call multiple times a week. We have our regular call time, a reading time with the kids, an interaction time so that we get to see them. One of our kids is here. Our daughter's here doing a program. So she's been able to visit, thank God. And then we come back to visit. And sometimes the whole family comes back, you know, once a year-ish. Or they come to visit us once a year-ish. And we're squeezing in as much time as possible. But that was a real, I would call it a sobering moment.
Absolutely.
Where it was like, wow, if this is all the time that we have, then who do we want to spend it with? So I respect that.
But finding that time to spend with family is really important. And I think when you look at the big picture of, oh, I only had maybe 1 or 2 times together, it's making that effort to make that more time to spend with the family. So I would like to find somebody as well that enjoys that, you know, that is important to them.
So I assume that if family time is important to them, in the same way it's important to you, you want to be near your family, but they probably also want to be near their family. So ideally, as a matchmaker, I'm going to throw it out there that we really need somebody who's, I'll call it local-ish, which means Philly, New Jersey, New York, Baltimore, that ish kind of a time range.
Right. And then sometimes the family goes down to Boca, you know, in the snowbird time. So.
Right. Okay. So we need somebody local. Calling out to you local ladies within the Philadelphia region area, within a 2 to 3 hour radius, I'm going to call it. We have a fabulous guy who is 35, looking for love and a serious relationship with a couple of kids and a dog in the bed. Don't forget about the dog in the bed. And it sounds like you're totally willing to rework what your work life looks like having a family. And I'm going to encourage you to look into that now before she's in the picture. So that she's not the reason that you're doing this. The reason you're doing this is because you want to build that family. It's coming from within. It's coming from you. And you build your life around the lifestyle that you want to have. And then there's a space for somebody to come into your life. I'm going to tell you a funny story. I was working with a guy and he was a cat lover. And I said to him, well, what happens if your wife is, you know, God forbid, allergic to cat? A lot of people are allergic to cats. And he's like, oh. I said, no. Cat, wife, what are you going to pick? He's like, I mean, I guess I would, it was like pulling teeth. He's like, I guess I would give up the cat. And I was like, okay, so let's vision this out. She's allergic to cats and you meet her and you like her and she likes you. And now you're dating and now you love her and she loves you. What are you doing with the cat? And he goes, I'm going to give it to my friend and I'm going to get visitation rights. I said, great. Which friend? He goes, I'll call you back next week. So he literally called me next week and he's like, I got a friend. We worked it out. Should I meet my wife? And should she be allergic to cats? It's okay. I could totally date her. I got a backup plan. And wouldn't you know, he met somebody who's like deathly allergic to cats.
Oh, no.
Yeah, seriously allergic. He gave the cat to this friend. He joked about it, but it was serious. He had his visitation rights. He came home, you know, changed his clothes, showered so that she wouldn't have a reaction. And, you know, he has the cat, not so close anymore, but the wife who's right there. They have a son. They actually in Philly and it worked out. But I'm going to imagine that that's not going to be an option for you with the dog. It's going to be like
dogs are a man's best friend for reasons. But unfortunately, dogs don't live as long as people.
But I imagine if that one's not there, you're going to want another one. Yeah. So, okay. So it's not like the cat guy. He's got to have a dog lover because the dog's not, you can't just love the dog, but that dog's going to be snuggling with you.
Sometimes you have 2 dogs. Maybe they have the dog.
Right. Maybe you have a dog.
Maybe they're a dog mom and a dog dad and you got dog stepchildren.
Do you ever go to like the doggy park to do
Have
meets?
a few times, yeah.
I think there could be a meet cute story in the doggy
It's
park.
very possible. She might have gone to a Jewish sleepaway camp.
She might have gone to a Jewish sleepaway camp. Camp Quebec?
Possibly.
Okay, if you've gone to Camp Quebec, we really need you because we want to match the story to his sister's stories. No, just kidding. Okay, well, I'm really glad that you came to meet us.
Thank you.
I appreciate you making the time and effort. And I'm hoping that whether it's through one of our interconnected networks, because I believe that everybody can make a match, even if you're not a matchmaker. So I encourage everybody who's listening to make a match suggestion, reach out to us, find us. And I wish you blessings on your journey, not just to you, but to everybody who's searching, that you should find the right person in the right time and please God this year. All the best. Thank you for listening. Be sure to check the show notes and visit elizabenshaloom.com for coaching, matchmaking, and everything else that we offer. And join the Jewish matchmaking movement. If you've learned something, please share this episode with one of your friends.